Hello friends, very good morning. Welcome back to 4th July daily Hindu news analysis in English from LTX classes. Friends, today before going to the today's analysis, let us see the agenda, like what articles we will cover in this particular session. Friends, before there was a small announcement that we are taking these articles from the Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper. From the Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper, we are picking the articles, and after that we are analyzing each and every article. So that is important for the UPSC perspective, for both prelims and as well as mains. Even that can be useful for the other state exams as well. Okay. Now, let us start with the first article. India to host the 46th UNESCO Heritage Panel Session. So, recently, India is planning to host this in New Delhi. We will read this article under GS Paper 2 International Organizations, like UNESCO in this context involved. Then the second important is air pollution spikes may raise the death rates in cities with cleaner air, says a study. So this we have to read it under GS paper 3 environment and as well as pollution. This article we will be covering in that particular portion. Then the next important is center issues advisory for the ads on food and as well as the health products only. This is something we will be reading in GS paper 2, government policies, initiatives, decisions, actions. It comes under that particular portion. Rajendra Khanna is additional national security advisor. This is important from the GS paper 3 security perspective. Okay. Then the next article, maintain vigil, says center as Maharashtra is reporting the Zika virus recently. So this we will study under GS paper 2 health perspective. We will read on this particular article. And then we will have a today's editorial, trials and as well as the medical ethics and the orbit of power. This we will cover under GS paper 4 ethics. Is something where I'll explain you some brief overview of this editorial. With that, we will close the session. I hope you are clear with the today's agenda, right? Now let us start with the first article. The first article is India to host the 46th UNESCO Heritage Panel Session. Okay, friends, there is something called as UNESCO. I hope you are already aware, but if you are an absolute beginner, then no problem, this is for you. There is an international organization called as UNESCO. UNESCO stands for United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. What is UNESCO? United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. And this is a specialized agency of United Nations. With the name itself suggests, right? UN. It is a specialized agency of United Nations, friends. This UNESCO body, right? It is headquartered in Paris. Paris, France, it is headquartered in. This UNESCO recognizes some important sites known as World Heritage Sites. World Heritage Sites. Okay. These World Heritage Sites are recognized as part of the convention called as World Heritage Convention. World Heritage Convention, which was signed in the year 1972. The World Heritage Convention, it was signed in the year 1972. In India is also party to this convention. India is also party to this particular convention. And how many World Heritage Sites are there in our country? 42 sites are there in our country. Even there was an UPSC prelims 2024 question on the World Heritage Sites. In order to maintain all these World Heritage list, we have something called as World Heritage Committee, which will administer all these World Heritage Sites all over the world. World Heritage Committee is located. World Heritage Committee is present. Now recently, why it is in the news is because the 46th UNESCO World Heritage Committee panel, the meeting is set to take place in New Delhi from July 21st to 31st at Bharat Mandapam, New Delhi. This is the context, friends. Let me revise it again. There is a body called as UNESCO. UNESCO stands for United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. It is actually a specialized agency of United Nations which is headquartered in Paris. UNESCO every year identifies some of the important World Heritage Sites all over the world, not only in India, it is all over the world, under a convention called as World Heritage Convention, which was adopted in the year 1972. And India is also party or signatory to this particular convention, and as a result we have 42 World Heritage Sites are there in our particular country. And all these sites will be maintained in a list known as the World Heritage Program, and which is administered by the World Heritage Committee. This World Heritage Committee's 46th UNESCO recent meeting is set to take place in July 21st to 31st in New Delhi, Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi. So these are the basic points that you have to cover. Once you are familiar with this background, we will read each and every point and we will try to understand it. Now let us start the discussion. World Heritage Sites. First of all, we will start with what are World Heritage Sites. Okay, let us start with the World Heritage Sites. What is a World Heritage Site? If you see, a World Heritage Site is basically a place that is listed by the UNESCO for its special cultural or any physical significance. For example, if a particular place has any special cultural or any cultural significance or any physical significance, so then in that context, so UNESCO will recognize that particular site as a World Heritage Site. In that context, for example, Santiniketan or the Rani Ki Vav. So there are so many World Heritage Sites are there in our country which are culturally or physically significant. Yes, friends. So therefore, second important point is the list of World Heritage Sites are maintained by something called as International World Heritage Program, which is administered by the UNESCO World Heritage Committee. This UNESCO's World Heritage Committee, so 46th session of this UNESCO World Heritage Committee meeting is now going to take place in New Delhi from July 21st to the month end. Yes. At the same time, now we are aware about what is this World Heritage Sites are all about. These are basically the places which are either culturally or physically significant. Correct, right? And who will maintain all this list? It is maintained under a program called as the UNESCO International World Heritage Program. And it is administered by whom? It is administered by UNESCO World Heritage Committee. And this World Heritage Committee's 46th edition is recently now about to begin from July 21st in New Delhi. Then the third important point, under which international convention or the international agreement does this World Heritage Sites are getting recognized? That is something called as World Heritage Convention of 1972. Correct, right? So that is the third point we mentioned. It is associated with the international treaty called the Convention Concerning the Protection of the World Cultural and as well as Natural Heritage, which was adopted by the UNESCO in the year 1972, and it is also known as the World Heritage Convention of 1972. Under this convention, the World Heritage Sites, whoever all party to this particular convention in their respective countries, these World Heritage Sites will be recognized by the UNESCO. And then immediate question follows, right? Whether is India a party to this convention or not? Yes, friends, India is a party to this particular convention. So there you can expect a question like, consider the following statements about World Heritage Convention, and it is the initiative of the UNESCO. And the second important one is India is not a party to the convention. They'll be giving the statements like that. So you need to correctly pick the correct answer. So here you should understand India is a party to that of the World Heritage Convention, which was adopted in the year 1972. And why it was in the news? It was in the news because the 46th session of the UNESCO, the World Heritage Committee, is hosted by India from the July 21st to July 31st at Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi. Very, very important, friends, from the exam perspective. And in India, how many World Heritage Sites are there? There are 42 World Heritage Sites are there. Out of them, 34 are cultural and as well as the 7 are natural. As I said it, right? So there will be some cultural significance and there will be some natural significance will be there. Out of these 42 sites in our country, 34 sites are culturally significant and 7 have the natural significance. And there was one exceptional case which is a mixed heritage site, and that is known as Kangchenjunga National Park, friends. Kangchenjunga National Park, this is situated in Sikkim. So this is located in the Sikkim and it is of a mixed heritage type. Then what are some of the sites which were recently added in the year 2023, the latest editions? So the latest editions are Santiniketan, which is located in West Bengal, was recently recognized as a World Heritage Site, and Sacred Ensembles of the Hoysalas, Karnataka, which are located in Karnataka. This was also recognized as a World Heritage Site. Okay, based on exactly on this particular thing, a question was asked in UPSC 2024. Consider the following properties included in the World Heritage List that is released by that of the UNESCO: Shantiniketan, Rani Ki Vav, Sacred Ensembles of the Hoysalas, Mahabodhi Temple Complex at Bodh Gaya. So these are the 4 World Heritage Sites that have been, friends, this is the question that was asked in UPSC 2024. So that means the 15 days back. So in the UPSC 24 prelims examination, this question was asked. They have straightforwardly given you some important World Heritage Sites, and now they are asking you how many of the above properties are included in 2023. How many sites are included in 2023? It's a pure current affair basic question. And now I think by now you are already aware Shantiniketan is one important thing and Sacred Ensembles of the Hoysalas is a second important thing. So because Rani Ki Vav and Mahabodhi Temple Complex were done way back far before. So these 2 are the options. So therefore how many are correct? Only 2 statements are correct and this is the answer. So this is how UPSC asks you the questions, friends. The main intention behind adding the previous year's questions is because they are the main guide for us for our preparation. So they will help us to understand the trend, the mindset of the UPSC. It's as if like if you read in polity, I hope you have read in polity, right? So the preamble is considered as the key to the minds of the framers of the constitution. So likewise, UPSC previous year's questions are basically the key to understand the UPSC examiner's mindset. Yes, friends, let us continue. Now we have talked about what are World Heritage Sites and how many different types of World Heritage Sites are there. For example, it can be naturally significant or it can be culturally significant. Then we have gone through this, who will administer all these sites and all, we have talked about that. Then we went to what was the international convention. For example, we said that it was World Heritage Convention which was adopted in the year 1972. Then we inquired into whether India is it a member or not. Yes, India is a party to this particular convention. And we have also made a specific detail like how many specific sites, World Heritage Sites are there in our country. There are 42 heritage sites are there in our country, friends. And the latest editions are Santiniketan and as well as the Sacred Ensembles of the Hoysalas. These are the latest editions. Similarly, UPSC will expect, definitely you can expect one more question in the next year associated with these similar lines. Then we will see some important basics from what is UNESCO. If you see what is UNESCO, UNESCO stands for United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. It is actually a specialized agency of the United Nations, friends. It is a specialized agency of the United Nations. And what is its main objective? Its main objective is to build the peace in the country, to build the peace in the world, not only in the one country, to build the peace throughout the world through international cooperation in education, sciences and as well as culture. So that means, what it means basically, the UNESCO is aiming to build the peace in the society, peace in the world through global cooperation in particularly 3 areas, that is education, sciences and as well as culture. So by promoting the cooperation in these 3 sectors or areas, so the UNESCO is seeking to build the peace all over the world. Then very important, friends, next one, it is also a member of an important grouping called as United Nations Sustainable Development Group. I hope you are already aware that we have something called as Sustainable Developmental Goals, SDGs. So this SDGs came into picture in the year 2015 and they should be achieved by the year 2030. In order to fulfill these Sustainable Developmental Goals, an important grouping is there called as United Nations Sustainable Developmental Group. okay, which contains like multiple UN agencies and as well as other organizations whose objective is to fulfill the sustainable developmental goals all over the world. Now this UNESCO, which is our topic of discussion, is also the part of the UN SDG. Very, very, very important. So then UNESCO headquarters, you are already aware, it is in the Paris, France. This is important, friends. Some of the important conventions of the UNESCO are as follows. So UNESCO have made some important conventions under the administration of the UNESCO. These are the conventions which have been signed. The first one is prohibiting and preventing the illicit traffic of the cultural property. In order to prohibit or in order to prevent the illicit trafficking and the traffic of the cultural property, this convention was signed in 1970. And you are already aware, World Heritage Convention of 1972. World Heritage Convention 1972. Then Protection of Underwater Cultural Heritage 2001. This was a third important convention. And finally the last one, the Convention for Safeguarding of the Intangible Cultural Heritage, which is 2003. So these are the 4 important conventions, friends. And I would like to show you one more UPSC 2024 prelims question exactly again from the UNESCO. See this. Which of the following was the latest institution in the Intangible Cultural Heritage list of UNESCO? That means this is associated with this convention, Intangible Cultural Heritage. And India is a party to this Intangible Cultural Heritage of 2003, and therefore you are expected to know it. And which of the following is the latest site? Friends, the answer for this question is C, Garba dance. Garba dance from Gujarat was the latest inclusion in the Intangible Cultural Heritage list. And there are in total 15 cultural intangible heritage sites are there in our country, in India, with the inclusion of the Garba dance Gujarat. After including the Garba dance Gujarat, there are 15 sites in our country which are recognized as culturally intangible heritage sites. So 15 sites are culturally intangible heritage sites. Okay. 15 sites which are intangible cultural heritage sites are there in India, and 42 sites are World Heritage sites. 42 sites are World Heritage sites which are located in India. So these are the 2 important facts that you need to remember. Then if you move forward, UNESCO and as well as India. What is a collaboration between UNESCO and as well as India? So India has been a member of UNESCO since its inception in the year 1946. So UPSC may lay a trap here. India recently became a member of UNESCO. This is how their statements will be. Okay, but we were actually way back since its inception in 1946, India was a member to this particular UNESCO grouping. Second important point is that in order to have a collaboration with the UNESCO, we have established a commission called as Indian National Commission for Cooperation with UNESCO, INCCU was commissioned. Indian National Commission for Cooperation with that of the UNESCO, INCCU. What is the main objective of this INCCU? So the main objective is to have a collaboration with that of the UNESCO. This was the next important point you should understand. And friends, I would like to have one more value added point here, and one more current affair which was recently in the news couple of days back. That is, there was an important city called as Kozhikode from Kerala was recognized as the India's first creative city of literature. India's first creative city of literature, Kozhikode, was recently added under the UNESCO's Creative Cities Network program. We have a program called as UCCN, UNESCO's Creative Cities Network program, and as part of this particular program, so this Kozhikode, Kerala, has been recently identified as the India's first city of literature. Okay, recently the UNESCO has recognized the Kozhikode, which is India's first creative city of literature, as UCCN. So therefore now we have 15 sites from the World Heritage sites, cultural intangible heritage sites are there, World Heritage sites are there. Maybe in the next year UPSC might definitely ask you on this Creative Cities Network. You can expect a question on this, so please be thorough with this. Yes, friends, and recently Kozhikode was added. Kozhikode from Kerala was added. So this is all about the information regarding the first article. Let us now go and see the second article. Rajendra Khanna is additional national security advisor. Friends, this is all about the security perspective from the country's national security. Further, with respect to national security, we have a very umbrella body called as National Security Council. National Security Council. This is the apex body with respect to security related affairs with respect to our country. So that means with respect to security affairs, this is the body which is completely responsible in our country. And this body was established in the year 1998. Under this body, we have three important organizations called as Strategic Policy Group. Strategic Policy Group. And the second one is, if you see this here, Strategic Policy Group, and then National Security Advisory Board, NSAB, and the third one is Joint Intelligence Committee, JIC. So these are the three important bodies called as Strategic Policy Group, National Security Advisory Board, Joint Intelligence Committee. So let us read these points first. So why it was in the news? Because additional national security advisor was recently appointed. So for so long this position exists, but it was so long vacant, but this time it was filled by the person called as by the Rajendra Khanna was now appointed as the national security advisor. So now it is our duty now to know about the whole security architecture in our country. So the first and foremost is something called the National Security Council. The National Security Council was established in the year 1998 by the government of the then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee. In the year 1998, so by the then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, this National Security Council was established. And what is this body is all about? It is the apex body. Apex body means a supreme body for all the national security management in our country. All the security related aspects, all the security affairs of our country will be completely taken care by this body called as National Security Council. And this body, when it was constituted, it was established in the year 1998. But before 1998, that means before the establishment of the National Security Council in our country, so the principal secretary to the Prime Minister is the person who is responsible for the security related affairs in our country. If you see this point, prior to the formation of the NSC, the functions which are related to the national security were carried out by the principal security secretary to the Prime Minister. And it operates a three-tier structure known as Strategic Policy Group, National Security Advisory Board, Joint Intelligence Committee. These are the three important tiers under the National Security Council. The first and foremost one is Strategic Policy Group. Friends, very important this one. Strategic Policy Group. It is considered as the first tier in the three system of the National Security Council. And out of all these three bodies, the core decision making body is this Strategic Policy Group. Strategic Policy Group is the core decision making apparatus body of the National Security Council. This is also very important. Okay, the chairperson of the Strategic Policy Group is now the National Security Advisor. This is another important point. It is a core decision-making apparatus in our of the National Security Council, and they will be asking you consider the following statements about the Strategic Policy Group, and they will say that it is the core decision-making body, and they will also ask you who of the following is a chairperson for the National Security Strategic Policy Group, SPG. So the SPG is headed by the National Security Advisor, but earlier this position is occupied by the Cabinet Secretary. Earlier Cabinet Secretary used to chair this particular body, but now it was been now given under the National Security Advisor. National Security Advisor is the head of this particular Strategic Policy Group. Very important, friends. Earlier it was the Cabinet Secretary. That was a point I mentioned here. And what is the main role of SPG? To assist the National Security Council and also perform the long-term strategic review of the security affairs in the country. So it will perform the long-term strategic review of the security affairs in our country will be managed by this SPG Strategic Policy Group. So this is all about the first important body under this, that is strategic policy group. And now comes the second body, National Security Advisory Board. In National Security Advisory Board, so generally the senior retired officials, academicians, experts from the civil society, so from the different streams who are not or who are all not part of the government will be part of this particular grouping called as the National Security Advisory Board, NSAB. Okay friends, what is the main objective of this particular body? This objective body is, now all these experts will carry out the long term analysis of the situations that are happening in the world, like for example Russia and as well as Ukraine conflict, how it will impact India personally, okay, and how we need to tackle Pakistan, how we need to tackle China. All these aspects will be covered by the National Security Advisory Board. And this board, after carrying out the thorough analysis, they will give its recommendations to whom? Recommendations to the NSC, National Security Council. That's what we mentioned here. It provides the long-term analysis and policy recommendations on the national security issues to the NSC, thereby covering the areas like internal and external security, foreign affairs, defense, etc. So all those aspects which comes under the domain of security will all be given to will be taken care by the National Security Advisory Board, where they will do the analysis and they will present this analysis in the form of recommendations to the government, that is to a National Security Council, and they will take a final call over this. These recommendations are again not binding on the government, very important. And the third one, Joint Intelligence Committee. This Joint Intelligence Committee, if you see, Joint Intelligence Committee of the Government of India basically analyzes the intelligence data from the Intelligence Bureau, Research and Analysis Wing, and the Directorate of Military, Naval and as well as Air Intelligence. So whatever all the intelligence agencies which are there in our country, like we have the Intelligence Bureau to take care of the internal intelligence of our country. Similarly, we have a RAW, Research and Analysis Wing, which take care of the foreign intelligence of our country. And we have the Directorate of Military, Naval and as well as Air Intelligence. All these intelligence bureau, all these intelligence organizations will provide some sort of leads or clues. They will provide some data. All this data will be now zeroed down by this body called as Joint Intelligence Committee. Joint Intelligence Committee. So finally, how many bodies are there as part of the National Security Council? There are 3 bodies. What are they? The first one is Strategic Policy Group, SPG, and the second one is National Security Advisory Board, that is the second one, and the third one is Joint Intelligence Committee. This was the third one. This is the basic bare minimum aspects that you need to know from this particular article. Now additional National Security Advisor in the news. So with this, you need to know all these important points from the UPSC perspective. Yes friends, now let us go to the next article. Air pollution spikes may raise the death rates in cities with the cleaner air. Recently, a first of its kind analysis, a multi-city analysis was recently carried out with respect to this study, and its reports were also published in the Lancet Planet Health on Thursday. It was published there. This particular report is all about what are the health impacts or health effects upon the short-term exposure to air pollution. Short-term exposure to that of the air pollution, whatever all the health impacts that will be on these things. In this particular report, so here I have written important points. A first of its kind multi-city analysis in India have been recently studied the health effects of the short-term exposure to air pollution. Whenever the people is exposed for a short period of time to the air pollution, how it will impact their health. This is something the study is all about, and they have taken the multiple cities as a reference, like for example Ahmedabad, New Delhi, Chennai, Bangalore, etc. They have taken these particular cities as a reference, and by using them they have analyzed the pollution and at the same time the death registry, like how is impacting the deaths, how it is affecting in the form of the deaths. and they brought some important points, and one of the important points is that rather than the cities which have the huge already pollution burden, those cities which have clean air, if they have any spike in the air pollution in these particular cities, so then definitely their related deaths are more when compared with the cities having already burdened pollution. If you see this point again, let me elaborate. This study identified that a spike in the air pollution in Indian cities that have the cleaner air may raise the death rates higher than that of the cities which have already higher pollution loads. When compared with the cities which have already existing higher pollution loads, for example New Delhi, so the other cities which have comparatively cleaner air, if there is a spike in the air pollution in those particular areas, so the death rates will be much more higher than that of the existing high pollution loads. This is some of the important point that it was marked in this particular this is one of the important finding that has been brought up by this particular study. And here this is what they have explained, and they have given some important data also, like for example 11.5 percentage of the Delhi's attributable death to air pollution. 11.5 percentage of the Delhi's annual deaths are attributable to that of the air pollution. That means out of for every 100 people, so 12 people are dying because of air pollution. Similarly, in Bangalore it was 4.8 percentage. So this is important point. This is important from the GS paper 3 environment, particularly air pollution related, and as well as impact on health. This is another which is must and should article that you need to be thorough with, friends. Yes, okay. You can further read about that with respect to the other percentages also. And then comes the next important article, which is Center issued advisory for the ads on food and as well as the health products only. This is the next important article. Now this article is pretty simple. It is all associated with that of the misleading ads. Misleading ads. Recently, I think you are already aware, in Supreme Court there was this case on Patanjali products and how they are claiming as fake. So they are saying that this Patanjali products will cure the COVID-19 and all, and even they have the WHO recognition also. So then immediately WHO have criticized it by saying that we have never ever given the approval to the Patanjali's products. So all this drama is going on. With respect to this drama, now the issue of misleading ads was a burning topic. And it was identified that about 75% of the products and as well as services which are being advertised are showing the false claims. So they are making the unrealistic false claims that their products and services are the best ones, and they are making the results, and whatever the results that they are portraying, even they are also fake, completely false. So taking this into consideration, so the Supreme Court of India in Indian Medical Association versus Indian Medical Association. This case is not mentioned in this particular article, friends. Indian Medical Association versus Union of India case. So Supreme Court has said that every advertiser or advertising agency should upload something called as SDC, self declaration certificate. Very, very, very important, friends. Okay, self declaration certificate. See, I have written those points. In Indian Medical Association versus Union of India case 2022 case, the advertising companies must provide a self-declaratory certificate to the competent authority before any content is displayed. So that means if you are an advertiser, if you are an advertising agency, then before you advertise any product or service on the social media platform, you must provide this SDC, self-declaration certificate, to the government. What is this SDC is all about? What it contains? It says that I hereby declare that I will not promote or make any false claims about the products and as well as services so that I publish on the social media. This is what is a declaration that you have to give. Okay, I hope you understood. If you have not understood, you can see this point here. In the self-declaration certificate, the agencies must declare that they are not making or they are not even promoting any false claims about the products or services before publishing them on the social media or in the market. This is the direction that was given by the Supreme Court and asked every advertiser or advertising agency to give this SDC. Why it was in the news now? It was in the news now because earlier it used to be given for all the sectors, but now the central government, the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, have recently issued an advisory by saying that only those advertisers or advertising agencies who deal with the food and as well as the health sectors. That means if the products and services that they are advertising are from the health and as well as the food sectors, then only those advertisers only should mandatorily give this declaration of SDC. The rest other will not apply. So this is what is the new advisory that came from the Ministry of Electronics and as well as Information Technology, friends. Okay, so from this article, what is this Indian Medical Association versus Union of India case? You have to write this particular case in the mains answer. So then what are the initiatives that have been taken by the government of India regarding to address the misleading campaigns? So this is how there can be, or what are the highlights of the Indian Medical Association versus Union of India case, which regarding the Patanjali issue. So there can be multiple ways that UPSC you can expect a question. So from the misleading ads perspective, you should understand that. And then similarly, UPSC may also ask you something like this: consider the following sectors. So they'll give you like transportation, agriculture, food, industry, health. Which of the above sectors need to give the SDC, that is a self-declaration certificate, as per the recent Supreme Court directive, or as per the recent Ministry of Electronics and as well as Information Technologies advisory. So this is how you can expect, and only two sectors, that is food and the health. Only those products or services which are associated with these two sectors should only now give their SDC annually. They have to submit they have to upload their SDC annually to the government. Clear, friends? The main objective here is to avoid the misleading claims. So the main objective here is to control all these misleading advertisements which are trying to fake really attracting the people. This is the next important article that you need to look into. Yes, friends, and then the next one. And this is something related to health related article is there. Maintain vigil, says center as Maharashtra reports the Zika. So there was one important news item that recently the Zika virus cases were being reported in Maharashtra. Zika virus cases are getting reported in Maharashtra. So therefore now the Union Health Ministry is asking all the state governments, it is asking all the state governments to take care of, to stay alert and try to screen the maximum number of patients, particularly those pregnant women who for the virus, and monitor the growth of the fetus for the expecting mothers who tested positive for the infection. So because it spreads from the pregnant mother, like who are infected with that of the because it moves from the pregnant woman to that of the fetus, the virus will be, so it will spread from the pregnant woman to that of her respective fetus. So therefore now the Union Health Ministry is asking all to screen the pregnant women and as well as at the same time fetus if the pregnant woman is tested positive. So these are some of the important points. For that you need to know some basics about the Zika virus. Let us see, friends. Zika virus is a mosquito borne flavivirus which is primarily spread by the Aedes mosquitoes, particularly Aedes aegypti mosquitoes. So Aedes mosquitoes, so spread this Zika virus from infected person to that of the other people. At the same time, apart from this particular transmission, we have other different modes also. Like for example, it can also be transmitted from the mother to fetus during the pregnancy, as well as through the sexual contact as well. It will be transmitted from the infected person to the other one, and the transfusion of the blood and as well as the blood products. So whenever the blood is transferred from the infected person to that of the another person, so then also the Zika virus will spread from the infected person to that of the another person. So this is very, very, very important, friends. And at the same time, it's very basic to the Zika virus. How the Zika virus, when it was originated? It was originated in the year 1947, friends, in the Zika forest in Uganda. That's the reason the name comes Zika virus, from the infected monkeys. Earlier it used to affect the monkeys, but however in the year 1952 the first human cases were also identified in Uganda and as well as the Tanzania. Here if you see, the first human case were also recorded in the year 1952 in Uganda and as well as the Tanzania. And what are some of the common symptoms? The common symptoms include the fever, the joint pain, and as well as the muscle pain. So these are some of the important symptoms which are associated with this particular Zika virus. And friends, you should be very clear that there is no specific treatment yet is available for the those people who are infected with this virus. So these are some of the important points with respect to the Zika virus that you have to cover. Today we talked about 4 important articles. That is, we talked about Zika virus, the recent cases which were reported in Maharashtra. Then we talked about the misleading ads, and as well as now the center has issued that. Now I hope you will better appreciate. Center issued the advisory for the ads on food and health products only. So that means only these 2 sectors are now, it is mandatory for these 2 sectors to upload their SDC self declaration certificate, saying that I hereby declare that we will not make or promote any false claims with respect to the products or services that we are advertising on our particular platforms, whatever the content that we are publishing. And the next important thing is, this is something called as the air pollution and as well as its impact on the health. So people who are all exposed to that of the short term exposure to that of the health and as well as its impact related to the death. This is another important article. Then we have talked about the additional national security advisor appointment. From that perspective, we talked about the whole setup under the National Security Council. We have seen that there is an umbrella organization called as National Security Council, which is the apex body or the supreme body, which is responsible for the security related apparatus in our country. And under the National Security Council, we have the 3-tier architecture. We have the 3 important organizations. What were they? The first one is the Strategic Policy Group, and the second one is the National Security Advisory Board, and the third one is a Joint Intelligence Committee. Please don't forget, Strategic Policy Group is headed by National Security Advisor, and it is the core decision making apparatus of our country. Once that is done, then we move forward to the another important article, which is UNESCO. We talked about the UNESCO. We have mentioned that Creative Cities Network is there, and recently the city of Kozhikode was recently identified. We have talked about that. Then we mentioned about the something called as existence of the Indian National Commission for Cooperation with UNESCO, which was established in order to collaborate with UNESCO, that we have seen. And then we mentioned, when did the India became a member? We became a member of UNESCO since its inception in the year 1946 only, we have talked about. Then we have seen one important question like intangible cultural heritage sites from UPSC 2024 question that we have seen. And what was the latest edition? It was a Garba dance. So from the Gujarat is the latest edition with respect to that of the this was the latest edition as intangible cultural heritage sites. Then we have seen the 4 important conventions which are under the administration of the UNESCO. The first one is Convention on the Means of Prohibiting and as well as the Preventing the Illicit Traffic of Cultural Property 1970, and the second one is World Heritage Convention of 1972. Then the Convention on the Protection of Underwater Cultural Heritage of 2001, and Convention for Safeguarding of Intangible Cultural Heritage of 2003. These are the 4 important conventions that we have talked about. Then we moved forward and we said that headquarters is in Paris, and it is also part of United Nations Sustainable Developmental Group, UN SDG. And what is the main core objective of UNESCO? The main objective is to aim to build the peace all over the world by having a global collaboration on these 3 sectors like education, sciences and as well as culture. And is it a specialized agency of United Nations? Yes, it is a specialized agency of United Nations. What is the abbreviation of UNESCO? United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. And then we have seen one UPSC 2024 prelims question as well, like which of the following heritage sites, world heritage sites, were recently added in 2023, and the answer is like Santiniketan from West Bengal and Sacred Ensembles of the Hoysalas from the Karnataka. These two were recently added. In the next year definitely you can expect a similar question. And how many world heritage sites are there in India? There are 42 world heritage sites are there in India. Out of them, 34 sites are cultural and 7 are natural sites. And one we have a mixed heritage site, which is Kangchenjunga National Park, which is located in Sikkim. Then we mentioned that recently the 46th session of the UNESCO's World Heritage Committee is hosted by India, will be hosted by India actually from July 21st to 31st at Bharata Mandapam in New Delhi. And is India a party to the World Heritage Convention? Yes, India is a party to the World Heritage Convention of 1972. And then we said, what is the original name? The original name is the Convention Concerning the Protection of the World Cultural and Natural Heritage. This is the original name of the convention, and this was adopted by UNESCO in 1972. It is also known as the World Heritage Convention of 1972. Then we moved forward into and said that the World Heritage Site list is managed by they are maintained by the International World Heritage Program, which is administered by the UNESCO World Heritage Committee. So where the 46th edition of it recently took place. So then we said that what is a World Heritage Site? World Heritage Site is a place that is listed by the UNESCO for the special cultural and as well as the physical significance. These are the important points from the today's Hindu newspaper, friends. These are some of the important, very, very important from the exam perspective. Then if we move to I hope you are clear, right? I hope you have understood, right? I think you got at least some bare minimum knowledge on all these articles. Now with this bare minimum knowledge, you can further study so that you will have a holistic understanding of the topics. Yes, and finally the today's editorial. So we will have I'll explain you in a very brief way. So the one or two important points what this author is all talking about, and with that we will close the today's session. With respect to this particular editorial, it is all about recently from the Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh, some group of people who are representing their respective organizations have written a letter to the Prime Minister and as well as Union Health Minister. Letter to the Prime Minister and as well as the Union Health Minister. What this letter is all about? This letter is all about the clinical trials which are conducted for the Bharat Biotech's Covaxin. Here if you see, yes, okay. See, on January 10th, 2021, an important letter was given to the Prime Minister and as well as the Union Health Minister, the then Health Minister, that is Harshavardhan. So they were being given a letter with respect to this thing, where they are saying that in the letter they alleged the irregularities and ethical violations in the conduct of the clinical trial for the Bharat Biotech's Covaxin by the People's Hospital in Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh. In the Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh, with respect to Covaxin, the Covaxin was developed by Bharat Biotech, right? So with respect to this Covaxin, whatever the irregularities that have happened, they are saying that the poor people were exploited by this particular People's Hospital in Madhya Pradesh, Bhopal. Poor people were exploited and many ethical guidelines were completely violated. So they have not informed risks that are involved with respect to testing these particular drugs. This is what is the other's point of discussion. He is saying that the clinical trials ecosystem of the country, the clinical trials, the system, whatever the system that is there, it is very weak. He is saying that there are lot of loopholes. So where, for example, the weak and very poor and as well as uneducated people are getting exploited because of this, because of these particular clinical trials. They were not being sufficiently being given the information. For example, they were not being informed of the risks that are involved while they are participating in this clinical trials. And at the same time, there are also, like for example, he is also pointing out to one more important point, that is like the development of the drugs, life-saving drugs. In the development of the life-saving drugs, generally this cardiology experts and all, only these people are only being the members of this particular grouping. As a result, what is happening is many ethical guidelines are not being followed. Many ethical guidelines are not being followed thoroughly. These are the some of the important points, friends, in this particular editorial the author is talking about. Okay, so to summarize, I can say that so the clinical trials system that is there in our country is very weak, and it is struggling with the lot of problems, lot of loopholes. Those loopholes are, there are no ethics committees are not getting constituted. Even though the ethics committees are getting constituted, they are like, even though the ethics committees are getting constituted, so there are no competent people in that particular ethics committees. There are no competent people, and at the same time there is no effective monitoring mechanism is there. There is no effective monitoring mechanism is there. And the next one is lack of providing the informed consent, lack of providing the information about the risks involved, about the risks involved in the clinical trials to the participants. So the no information is being provided. So the vulnerable communities, vulnerable and the marginalized communities are getting exploited. Marginalized communities are getting exploited in these particular clinical trials. So these are some of the important challenges that he is talking about. And at the same time, the drug development is completely a development, altogether a development, different game. And in this particular drug development, not only the doctors should be part, the doctors, like subject experts should not only be the part, so those people who have some the other background, like ethical background, so that they can definitely implement these ethical principles also. Ethical guidelines should not be violated. These are some of the important challenges that the author have highlighted in this particular article. With this basic background knowledge, you can study further this particular article, friends, so that will be definitely helpful for you. And it comes under GS paper 4. So in GS paper 4 ethics paper, you will be given a case study like this. Like for example, like this has happened, they will create some hypothetical scenario. Okay, then they'll ask you to comment on it. They'll start asking you the ethical questions on this particular topic. So you are expected to prepare on this as well. Yes, friends, I hope you have understood up till now and you are clear with that. I would like to introduce two important programs from the LTX classes. The first important program is UPSC mentorship program, friends. So UPSC mentorship. So mentor is very important for any person who is preparing for a competitive examination, and that will be specifically true for a very tough examination like UPSC. In this particular UPSC mentorship program, we will be providing you a personal one-to-one interaction will be provided, so that your UPSC preparation will be channelized in line and it will be aligned in line with that of the UPSC. So the demands and as well of the UPSC and whatever the candidates' capabilities. So now they need to be, the gap between them need to be bridged, and that is the objective of this program of UPSC mentorship. This program will be directly taken by our Suresh sir, who is our honorable director of the LTX classes. And the program fee that we are charging is 10,000 rupees, and the validity is that till you crack the UPSC examination. This one-to-one interaction program, where you will be provided the guidance like how to approach this particular examination, and will clarify your doubts in the middle of the paths of your journey of UPSC journey. And if you want to talk to sir, you can contact this particular number so that to clear all your doubts. This was the first important program that I would like to announce you. And the second important program is editorial. Editorial is very, very important from the UPSC mains perspective, because if you can read consistently the editorial for 1 year, then definitely your mains answers will be much more in a better enriching way rather than your old version. By recognizing the importance of the editorials, we have launched a very new program called as the Ultimate Editorial Based Answer Rating for UPSC. In this particular program, what will happen is daily one question based on editorial will be given it to you, and you will, after reading that particular editorial, you will write the answer to that particular question, and after you are writing, your paper will be evaluated, and at the same time your feedback will also be given on that particular answer. And after that, which is much more required, the model answer as well. So we will also give you one model reference answer also, so that will help you to compare and as well as incorporate into your own original answer. This initiative will also be taken by our director sir itself, Suresh sir, who is our director of LTX classes. For 6 months validity, we are charging 6,000 rupees, friends. So for 1 year validity, we are charging 10,000 rupees, and for a lifetime validity, we are charging 20,000 rupees. If you have any doubts, you can contact this particular number to clarify all your doubts. Yes, that's it, friends. That's it for today. And now it's the time to answer the question. Consider the following statements about the strategic policy group. The SPG will assist the National Security Council and also perform the long-term strategic review of the security affairs of the country. At present, it is headed by the Prime Minister of India. Which of the above statements is or are correct? One only, two only, both one and two, none of the above. I hope you are already aware of the answer. If you are aware of the answer, please comment your answer in the comment box, friends. At the same time, like the video if you liked it, and show your love in the form of likes and as well as comments, because these likes and as well as comments only will help us more to do these type of quality videos, friends. At the same time, let me tell you one more thing. The Telugu on the Hindu news analysis in Telugu will also be posted in our channel, so you can even watch that particular thing. If you have a language barrier, if you are unable to understand English, then you can I have the Telugu in Telugu as well. You can watch that particular video, so that your analysis will be completely done. That's it, friends, for today. Let's meet again tomorrow in the daily news analysis of 5th July. Okay, all the best. Happy learning. Bye bye.